Hi! Today I'm reviewing Hunting the Falcon, Henry VIII, Anne Boleyn and the Marriage That Shook Europe by John Guy and Julia Fox. And here's my hardback copy of it. Now, its release date in hardback in Europe is today, the 14th of September, and I checked and it's due for release over the pond on the 24th of October, so not too long to wait if you're over there. One of my favourite Tudor history books is John Guy's biography of Mary, Queen of Scots, which of course served as inspiration for the recent movie. And I loved both of Julia Fox's books, the first on Jane Boleyn, Lady Rochford, and then her second one on Catherine of Aragon and her sister Juana. All of these books, those three, were a perfect blend of meticulous research and a readable writing style. So I was very much looking forward to the couple's book on Henry VIII and Anne Boleyn, particularly as it was a joint project. So much experience and expertise combined there. In its blurb, Hunting the Falcon is described as a groundbreaking examination of how the marriage of Henry VIII and Anne Boleyn sent shockwaves across a continent and changed England forever. And that is a very accurate description. What I enjoyed about the book was it wasn't just a biography of Anne Boleyn. It looked at how and why Anne rose to become queen, what her and Henry's relationship was like, what kind of queen Anne was, and then what happened. But all the while placing this relationship in a much wider context as something that was impacted by and had an impact on Europe. I very much feel that Anne Boleyn stood out from other women at court when she came back from France, that she was a Renaissance woman, and that was a lot of the attraction for Henry. So I was pleased that Guy and Fox gave a lot of consideration to Anne's time in Europe, what she saw there, the role models she had there, and the way that things worked there. These all had a huge bearing on the queen she became. For example, as Guy and Fox note, when Anne was queen, she didn't just have ladies socialising in her chambers, men came too. And Guy and Fox describe her style of court as a French-style court of pleasure and courtly love. And this was something that could usefully be used against her later. My absolute favourite thing about this book, though, was its examination of Anne Boleyn as queen-to-be and as queen. Anne was very much a political animal. When she finally said yes to Henry, she didn't let him and his advisors sort things out. She didn't take a back seat. She was actually a huge driving force in the great matter. Not only did men that Anne acted as patron to act as experts in canon law, Anne had her own theological arguments. She came up with ideas herself, and she was listened to. Anne was an intelligent woman. She'd read theological books. She knew what she was talking about. And Guy and Fox see Anne's time in the early 1530s, before she became queen, as Anne at her zenith as far as her influence on the king was concerned. She was very much his partner, his equal at this time. But she was also willing and able to speak out when she didn't agree with the king and or his advisors. And Guy and Fox look in detail at examples of that. For example, Anne's views on the dissolution of the monasteries, which weren't at all in sync with Henry's views or Cromwell's. Guy and Fox see Anne Boleyn as the love of Henry VIII's life, a passion he'd never experienced before and a passion he never experienced again. And I completely agree with this assessment. I enjoyed their section on his love letters to her and their courtship, and the points they make about Henry's relationship with his mother, Elizabeth of York, and how this affected his views on women. And Henry? Well, they see him as a narcissist, and they conclude that his marriage to Anne left an indelible mark on him. And although their marriage changed England forever, it did not change him. He changed himself. An interesting assessment, which is well argued. There are, of course, things I don't agree with. For example, Guy and Fox's views on Anne when Henry VIII first noticed her. They see her as modelling herself on Elizabeth Woodville and being ambitious and wanting the king to propose to her and holding out on him for that reason. They also really don't like Thomas Boleyn. They see him as mean, greedy and grasping and willing to do anything to rise at court and to save his own neck. I definitely don't agree with either of those views. Is the book groundbreaking? Well, yes. Its examination of Henry and Anne's relationship is fresh, and I particularly enjoyed the details about the French court and Anne's time in France, which often gets passed over, and also the details on Anne's involvement in the Great Matter. Guy and Fawkes have also found new documentary evidence, for example, a manuscript which backs up the argument that Anne was the younger of the two sisters. And they also go into a lot of details regarding the records about Anne and George's trials. I'm not going to go into any more details though, as I don't want to spoil the book. Although I think this review would have to be a few feature-length movies long to do that. The book is so detailed. The book also contains useful family trees and helpfully a section listing those mentioned, the kind of caste list, for example, members of Anne Boleyn's household, with a sentence explaining who each of them are. And what I really love about the book is that it has a huge notes section. So Guy and Fawkes properly cite their sources. Hurrah! You can see how big the appendices, notes and bibliography are if I hold up the book. Now my bookmark there, my little cat bookmark, is where the main text of the book ends. Okay, so the main text ends there, and then that bookmark marks where Appendix 1 starts. So lots and lots of notes and references. And it's always good to know what source a historian is using to back up their views. And as you can see as well, I'm not sure whether you'll be able to see it on camera, I've turned down lots of corners. Sorry to those of you that don't like that. Now I turn down corners when there's something interesting or something that makes me go, something that I didn't agree with or I want to check out, or just something that I want to go back to and reread, or something that's useful. So lots of moments, and that's good. I want to read a history book that makes me pause for thought, that challenges me and my views successfully or unsuccessfully, and this book certainly did that. I definitely recommend Hunting the Falcon, and there it is, for anyone interested in knowing more about Anne Boleyn and wanting a fresh perspective on her relationship with Henry VIII. Thank you for joining me, and I do hope if you get this book that you enjoy it as much as I did. See you soon.